want to tell you it's an amazing day. It's a monumental day. It's an historical day. It's a day I didn't expect to come. And when it came, I was in Naples. So, I want to tell you that, the history books, they will talk about this day. December 6, 2017. The president of really the strongest country in the world decided to keep his word, and it's not easy for us. Nobody keeps the word to the Jewish people. So when it happened, it's already the miracle. And the miracle is that he kept his word to the fullest. Today, he recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and then directed the State Department to begin the moving of the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. It's amazing. Sometimes I feel that when King David, made Jerusalem the capital, he fell in love with the city among the mountains. I'm sure he's looking down and said, wow, 3,000 years? Because we went through everything. We had empires that only demolished us. We had the Babylonian, they demolished the first temple. We had the Greeks, another empire that desecrated the temple. We had another empire, the Romans, that destroyed the second temple. And then we had the Mamluk that decided that the Muslims should not really pray in Jerusalem. And if they want to pray in the cave of the Patriarch, they will be in the seventh step going. They're only in the seventh step. After that, only the Muslims are allowed to go to other holy sites. And then, of course, we had the Crusader, and then we had the Ottoman that simply didn't let us. They only let us in Jerusalem have a very narrow ally, in which a narrow hallway, in which it was what, 10 feet to 50 feet, a very narrow area that we are allowed to pray in the Western world. We were not allowed to have women and men. We were not allowed to have tables or chairs, because they only care about that we don't want to offend everybody else. And today there was a person that said, the president, I promise I will move the embassy, I will recognize Jerusalem as the capital, and he kept the promise, despite the fact that officials in the State Department, despite the fact that McMaster, the National Security Advisor, say no, despite the fact that Tilson, the Secretary of State, say no, despite the fact that the Defense Minister, Mattis, say no. We are talking about the national security saying no. And he say yes, yes, and yes. And it reminds us President Truman. You remember? It was the same thing. The State Department were against him recognizing Israel as Israel as the Jewish state, as the independence of the Jewish state. And he said no. So I want to tell you, I live in Kansas City, independence, Truman. Till now, he was the one in the history books. And now President Trump will be in the history books of the Jewish people, which is amazing. Who would have we have people that, not every easy history. People usually promise, they never keep the promise. They usually let us suffer. They usually deny us what they give everybody else. You have to understand, the United States of America have 135 embassies in the capitals of 35 countries. They're in the capital of the country that the country chose to have a capital. Israel was the only one, the 136 countries that were denied to be equal to everybody else. And what I love today, what he said is, Israel is a sovereign country, which has the right to choose its own capital. And this is really what the essence Today they gave us the right to be like everybody else. That we were not singled out because we are Jews. To say that we, the only country in the world, other people will decide which capital we are in. They are telling us, of course the Europeans and the world repeatedly, we need to have two capitals in Jerusalem. Really? Who made you God? Who made you historian? Is this your country? Did I tell you that London will not be the capital of England? Or Paris? You know that country, you know that they recognize the capital of Pakistan, the capital of Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. They are recognizing where, you know, Hezbollah control Lebanon, Beirut. They're recognizing the capital of Uganda, of Gabon, of China. And they never say, well, maybe it will, you know, really change and damage the cause for peace. Those countries are totalitarian regimes, and they have a capital. They are recognized, and we have an embassy. So I want to tell you that, so when they are having so many really objections to this amazing movement, the first objection they are saying is it will undermine the peace process. It will undermine the chances for peace. They will undermine any chance of two-state solution. Really? First of all, I didn't know we were in a peace process. You know? I mean, for 3 years, they're not even talking to us. I didn't realize we have a chance for peace. I only remember the rejections of the Palestinians, and many rejections. We, in 2017, we are commemorating many events. One of them is the partition plan, 29th of November. We are talking about 70 years this year. And 70 years ago, they were offered the Arabs in the area of Palestine, the mandate Palestine, which was really another name to a Jewish state, because I want to mention, you will understand. Historically, we are talking about history, not fake news, not fake history. If we look at real history, there was never an Arab or Muslim state that was called Palestine. There was only a Jewish state west of the Jordan River. This is the truth. Jerusalem was never a capital of any Arab or Muslim state. It was only the capital of a Jewish state. This is the fact. This is the history. And when President Trump says today, and this is reality, and that's what he used, reality. We are talking about historic reality, and he mentioned in the speech, he stated, you know, Israel, the Jewish people, had the capital Jerusalem already in ancient times. The first time somebody recognized, somebody telling us, this is not a new capital for us. This is 3,000 years capital for us. They are saying to us, he talked about also the modern reality. He's saying, we don't decide what's the capital. We look where the seat of the government. The Prime Minister live and work in Jerusalem. The Parliament is in Jerusalem. The Supreme Court of Israel is in Jerusalem. And he mentioned all the ministry, most of them are in Jerusalem. And therefore, it is the capital of the Jewish state. So they're telling us that it will undermine the peace. So 70 years ago, there was two-state solution. The United Nations, and Jerusalem was an international city. And the Jews said yes, because we will have people knocking from the Holocaust, knocking refugees, needed a place, a home. And the British stopped us, the British, the hypocritical British, that never let us be in our own, really, immigrate to our own country, while we were refugees with no food, no place to go. And they stopped the immigration. So those are the people that dare to judge us. dare to judge and condemn and criticize President Trump instead of being courageous themselves. You know, we are talking about 100 years ago, there was the Balfour Declaration. This is the only time the British were courageous. They say the British will establish a Jewish home in Palestine. When they meant Palestine 100 years ago, they meant both sides of the Jordan River, where Transjordan happened, when Jordan of today. But the British lied to us. They betrayed us. They took away half, more than half, 70% of what they promised us. And then even that area, they want us to divide it to 2 states. So it means they will have 3 states. They will have Gaza, they will have it in the West Bank, in Judea and Samaria, and they will have it in Jordan. And where the Jews are, who cares? We want to appease them. After that, so Israel was established. It was May 14, the first president of the United States. At the time, the first one that recognized Israel. And then 5 Arab states attacked us to annihilate us. They said we will throw them to the Bahar, to the sea. They came, and we were able to defend ourselves because we had no alternative. You know, the Israelis say, "En brera." We have no alternative. We were 600,000, there were millions, and we defeated them. But we were, sadly enough, the Jordanians were able, with the help of the British, were able to take control of Eastern Jerusalem, with the old city, with all the holy sites. And the first thing they did, they destroyed and demolished 36 synagogues. And the remaining one, they changed it. They made it stables, hen houses. They burned thousands and thousands of holy books they burned in the Jewish quarter. They deported and expelled the Jews from there. This was the first time that there was not one synagogue and one place where Jews did not live. In the old city for 1,000 years, we had presence there. So they burn, they destroy, and now they dare to say, oh, it will destroy the stability and the peace in the Middle East. That was the Jordanian are warning Mr. Trump. And then after that, they didn't let any Jews pray in the Western Wall or the Temple Mount, anybody. So when you see the picture, the photos after from 49 till 67, the 6-day war, nobody's there. You know, it used to be next to it. Next to the Western Wall during the Jordanian time, there was a slum of huts and houses. And there was even disgustingly sewage water were flooding toward the Western Wall. We even had a toilet that was against the wall. There was a stench of when the soldier arrived to the Western Wall, when they conquered it, they said there was a stench of urine, of non-sanitary condition. That's what they did to us. We totally disregard. They are now calling it the Al-Burak wall. It was the wall in which he tied his donkey before he flew. Muhammad? Really? You treated the Western Wall with such a disrespect, it couldn't be a holy site for anybody. But you know how the Muslims are. They only want what we want. If we want it, they want it. If we don't want it, they don't want it. For 19 years, they had it. Did they make Jerusalem, Eastern Jerusalem, the capital of any Arab state? No! Did King Abdullah come every day to visit the place and to pray in the holy site, on the mosque? No! He came maybe once. Did they treat that Arab site with any respect? No! They simply wanted to disrespect us, like they disrespect every religion. So, the 6-day war occurred. I want also to mention, my grandfather lived in Jerusalem. In 1950, he moved to Western Jerusalem to Mamila Street. I don't know if you know what is Mamila Street. It's the street, now we have a Mamila shopping center. It's just next to the Jaffa Gate of the old city. So I want to tell you, in the Six-Day War, I was 7 years old. But I don't know, my parents let me do it, but from the age of 4 to 7, I was allowed to spend my summer on Mamila Street, while the Jordanian snipers were 100 yards away on the wall of the old city. And I'm amazed that they let me, but I remember my grandfather said to me, remember, there are Jordanian snipers on the wall, and if they see you, they will kill you. I'm like, okay, don't worry. You know, I want to tell you, there were barbed wires, there was walls, there was mines along the way. We're talking about like 100 yards. And my grandfather said, when you leave the house, only remember, you run to the left and run as quickly as you can. And I'm like 4 years old. Quickly as you can to the west side. Like you have to understand, the Jordanian sniper tried to kill Jews in the western side of the city. This is what they were controlling 100% of the West Bank, Judah and Samaria, and East Jerusalem, including the old city and all the holy sites. And they were still killing Jews on the western side. Because the point is, they don't want Eastern Jerusalem. They want everything in Jerusalem. They don't want a Palestinian state. They want Palestine. They want everything, every corner, every neighborhood. Even if when we agree to have Tel Aviv, they will say, why Tel Aviv? We need another thing. They will never agree for any peace. There will never be peace. And people ask me, how do you know? I am so sure, because look what they did. So, we reunite the city. Of course, Diana to be the appeaser of the history of the Jewish people, because immediately he gave the sovereignty, the administrative sovereignty to the Waqf, which is a committee of Muslim religious leaders. They were shocked, because they thought we would slaughter them when we captured East Jerusalem after the attack at the Jordanian. They were waving the white flags. They were so scared for several years, and we gave them the authority. We told them, no, this is okay, because we are such civilized human beings. We are with you, not against you, even though you are ready to be against us. So we gave up our right to the Temple Mount. And for people that don't know, the Western Wall is the second holy site of the Jews. It's not the first one. The Temple one is Temple Mount, where there was the Har Moriah, the Mountain of Moriah, in where Abraham was asked by God to sacrifice Isaac. I want to tell you, I was just now in Israel, in Jerusalem. I went to the Temple Mount. If you go to the Temple Mount now, the Waqf people, the security guards, the Muslims, they follow you everywhere. Because God forbid you will move your lips and pray to God. You are not allowed to move the lips. You are not allowed to pray on the Temple Mount, on my Temple Mount. You are not allowed to carry a Bible, or even have a kippah, or even have a torch for support, nothing. So they follow me around. So I said to my husband, my husband is American Jew. He learned. I taught him everything. Because he was also naive to begin with. And so I said to him, you don't understand. You will never stop following us if you will not ask for a special, a professor of history. A guide, a tour guide. So we asked for one. He said, we will pay him $50. Okay? We want your best one. Professor that is so knowledgeable on the history of Jerusalem. So they brought me this guy. He's an expert. He's a professor. He finished his PhD in history from Beirut University. Okay, this is good. Great. So I'm going with him and I'm asking him, so tell me, so where are the two temples of the Jewish people? You know what he said to me? What temples? No, they're in Yemen. I said, in Yemen? Okay. What about when the Jews say, he said to me, it's fake news. He's using, it's fake news. I said, okay. What about Abraham, was ordered to sacrifice his son Isaac on Har Moriah? No, Isaac? No, it was Ishmael, his other son. I said, oh, this is good. I said to him, because if you are upset, they will kick you out. They have more rights than I have. I said, okay, what about Abraham? Oh, he was a Muslim. Okay. What about Tom of Rachel? It's a mosque. Okay. The Cave of the Prophet? Oh, it's a mosque. The Temple Mount? Oh, it's a book wall. Okay. The Temple Mount? There is no such thing. It's al-Sharif. It's where, it was always, there is Mecca and Medina, number 1 and 2 holiest site. Suddenly it became the 3rd holiest site, al-Sharif. Never even visited the place till we came back. This is what we are talking about, a fake history and nobody say a word. So, 1993, suddenly Shimon Peres and Prime Minister Rabin came with this brilliant idea. The PLO was on the verge of destruction. They had no penny to their names. So, they were on the verge of total collapse. Even the local Palestinian leadership were not interested in talking to them. They were so corrupt. Everybody kicked them out from, in the 1970s, from Jordan and from Beirut. They started a civil war. That's what they do. Destruction everywhere. So they kicked them out into Tunisia. So they say, okay, we will bring Arafat and his criminal goons, ex-terrorists. How do you become ex-terrorist? What is it? But do you go to a course to be ex-terrorist? It's like, okay, ex-murderer. What do? Go to a special course to not be one? So they brought thousands of them for a peace, the Oslo Agreement. We gave them everything. We got so much money. And then we withdrew according to the Oslo Agreement for many areas. By the year 2000, they controlled 40% of Judea and Samaria, and I want to tell you, by that, they already control 99% of the Palestinian population. And in Gaza also, they control together also like 75% of the area. And then they start to terrorize us. And then Ehud Barak gave them their second offer to have two-state solution, to have coexistence. And what Barak offered them, Ehud Barak? You remember, it started July, the year 2000, the last year of Bill Clinton, the president, and then it continued also from Camp David, also to Taba in January, just before President Clinton was really removed from, to leave, because President Bush, was elected. And what was the offer? Ehud Barak offered them 96% of Judea and Samaria, the West Bank. He offered them total sovereignty over the Temple Mount, the holiest site of the Jews, the Temple Mount. Then he offered them 100,000 refugees can come into Israel. It means they will have a Palestinian state. They will have a capital in Jerusalem, and they will have 100,000 reunite with other Arabs family inside Israel. And we will keep the neighborhood. It will be Arab neighborhood, it will be Jewish neighborhood. And you know what happened? He didn't even give a counter offer. He walked away. Arafat and his second in command, Abbas, the man of peace, the moderate Palestinian leader. Really? You know who is Abbas? Abbas was the financier of the PLO and terrorist action. He was the financier. He was the raised the money. You know, the Munich attack that killed 11 Israeli athletes? He was the financier. He raised the money, the funds for the terrorist attack. This is a guy that did a dissertation, PhD again, in one of those amazing universities in Moscow University. What he did there, his dissertation was on Holocaust denial. This is the guy we are talking about. This is the man of peace. This is the one that will give us the two-step solution. Then he was number 2. So they reject, and then what we got in return? Slaughter. After we offer them everything, they start the Arafat war against us. They terrorize us. Jerusalem, Tel Aviv. There were coffee shops blown to pieces. Synagogue, buses. 1,000 Israelis were murdered from the year 2000 to 2005. 5,000 were injured badly. Children in disco, children in strollers were blown to pieces. No legs, no arm. That's what we got for our offer of peace. But, you know, we need to have peace. You know, only the recognition of Jerusalem now will undermine peace. This was offer number 1. Offer number 2 happened with Olmert, 2008, September 2008 in Naples, next to DC. The president this time was not President Clinton. It was President Bush. It was a Republican. The same story. We offer what exactly Ehud Olmert offered, and I want to tell you. Mahmoud Abbas was then the president already. Arafat was gone. The offer was even more amazing. He offered 100% of Judah and Samaria, the West Bank, and with 1-for-1 a replacement, exchange area inside Israel. So Olmert wrote he has a draft, and it was published, the draft, a handwritten draft. And the handwritten draft was that in the draft he showed the places it will give them instead to make sure they will get exactly 100%. It will keep 93.2% in the West Bank, but in order to compensate them for the rest of 6.8%, he decided to give them 5.5% from the area of Hebron and from the north, around the full Bet Shean, to compensate to 100% territory in total, and then 1.5% to give them from a tunnel that will go all the way from Hebron, the area of Hebron, the West Bank, all the way to Gaza. Another, it was 6.8%, 100%. Now, what was the offer in Jerusalem? Which when I read it, I had tears in my eyes. Tears, how defeatist we are. How we are so desperate for peace, we are willing to damage and sabotage ourselves. He offered them sovereignty, total control over the old city. Old city, after everything they did to us in the Jewish quarter, after they burned, destroyed so many synagogues, after they destroyed schools, after they kill us, you offer them control, and then he offered that he will, we call it the holy basin. So he said that, okay, we will give you, you know, you will be also, of course, in control of the Temple Mount. But in order not to make it too tough to the Jewish people to accept, we will have a trustship, international committee of 5 nations who will manage the holy basin, the old city. Who are those? Of course, Israel, of course, United States, but then Jordan, Saudi Arabia and the Palestinian Authority. It's me, 3 out of 5, the majority, will decide if I'm going to pray in the Western wall, if I'm going to the Jewish quarter. He offered them for 5 years, 5,000 refugees to come inside Israel. He offered them, of course, also a lot of money. And he offered that, of course, he will keep major blocks of the settlement, which will be, the 5.5%. And what happened now, you think? Abbas simply walked away. And Olmert is calling in the next day, remember, tomorrow we are meeting, there will be an expert on mapping, we will do exactly what everything we discussed will be formally drafted by this map experts. And he's calling them, where are you? He said, oh, I'm so sorry, we didn't realize we have a meeting in Amman. We have to delay it by 1 week, but we will call you. Don't call us, we will call you. And he said that he's still waiting for them to call. This is the second offer. And then, of course, we had the great President Obama coming along. And of course, he was the worst of the worst because he despised us. He blamed us with everything. I'm here to tell you the truth. I'm not here to make it pretty. It's not pretty, the story, but today it's a glorified glory. A story of glory and redemption because of what we went through, because of the betrayal. The first months, of course, Obama was elected by 78% of the Jews in America. 4 years after, it was 69% of the Jews in America. Even after, he told the Jews, he told the Jewish leaders, told them in the first meeting, first of all, the first guy he called to, from all the leaders of the world, the first one as the president was Abbas. You understand? He was the most important leader to call to, Mahmoud Abbas. The terrorist. I'm sorry, the ex-terrorist, if such thing possible. And then after he decided to create a daylight, he told them we will create a daylight with Israel because if we create a daylight, then we have a chance there will be peace. Because we will not really be on the side of Israel. We will be honest broker. You know how I despise this word? What does it mean honest broker if you not even tell the truth? How can you be honest if you cannot tell the truth? They never had a state. If you cannot tell the truth that the settlement, 1.7%, you put all of them together, all the built area, in Judah it's 1.7%, 40 square miles, that's what we are talking about. But if you take all the boundaries of the settlement, the built and unbuilt, of all the 130 settlements, it's 6.5%. That's it. But most of it was not even built. Only now, under Trump, it's being built. So this is the truth. This is the honest. And you remember how you mentioned every day about the balcony. Oh, you purchased balcony. Oh, we condemn you. Oh, Jerusalem, we condemn you on that. Every day there was public confrontation with Obama. You remember? Every day it was our fault. Every day it was the settlement, the settlement, the settlement. You understand that the 6.5% is only 152 miles square? It's a tiny little thing. It will put it all together. He also believed that Jerusalem, Jerusalem, it's also a settlement. Our capital, our hearts of hearts, our heart and soul, Jerusalem. We pray for Jerusalem for years, thousands of years. Every Passover, every holiday next year in Jerusalem. Jerusalem is mentioned 660 times in the Bible. You are telling me that Jerusalem is a settlement? I don't think so. So, he went after us, condemned us, and then he, of course, signed the worst deal ever. With Iran, gave them $150 billion. They were also on the verge of extinction. There was 40% inflation rate in Iran at the time from the sanction. There was unemployment with the young people over 30%, 10% national unemployment. We are talking about there was a reduction, almost none, zero economic growth. They were paralyzed. This is why they came to the negotiation table. And he gave them $150 billion, and the Europeans, they don't believe in anything except money, and except appeasing evil, and except being anti-Semite, which they are. This is the people that simply so obsessed with the deal and wants the deal. So what happened? I want to tell you, this was the fourth offer. Do you know that under Obama offered them and they say no to Abbas? Nobody talked about that. March 2014, Kerry and Obama came with this brilliant idea. They invited him to the White House, and they said, okay, you will get, we believe in 1967, which is really in the 1948, ceasefire the lines, and you will get 100% Palestinian state, or withdrawal to the 62nd. There will be, again, exchange of territory for keeping the blacks of the main settlement, which is really, as I mentioned to you, from 1.7 to 6.5%. And then he said to him, also you get Jerusalem as the capital. Jerusalem is the capital. If Obama wants it, of course it will happen. And you know what Abbas said to him? Three no's. It was a no, even if you give me all of this, no to recognizing Israel as a Jewish state in any peace agreement, never written down. Second, no, it means yes to right of return. It means no, because that's what Obama said. He said, okay, please give up the right of return. They want 5 million refugees to go inside Israel, not to the Palestinian state, inside Israel. You know why? Because if they go inside Israel, we are gone as a Jewish state. This is why he also doesn't recognize Israel as a Jewish state. And the last one, which also happened with Arafat and the second offer, never end of the conflict. We will never agree to end the conflict. It means it will be the beginning. They will have a state, they have Jerusalem, and then they will start demanding more stuff from us. It will never end the conflict. Because they never will recognize the Jewish state. There will never be coexistence. There will never be two-state solution. It's only one state. They are instead of us. We offer them 4 rejections. And now you are telling me that this recognition, this glory day, this one will undermine the peace. What peace? Pieces of bodies you blew up? Of Jews? This is the only thing we will get. And people say to me all the time, how come you feel so strongly? First of all, we have only one Jewish state. One Jewish state. We have a tiny little thing the size of New Jersey. Everybody wants part of it. Nobody really cares about it. And it's an amazing day because suddenly we have an empire. Amazing. The strongest country in the world has our back. And all of them, all those haters know that somebody great and powerful has our back. Now how difficult it is, I want to tell you. My father was born in Damascus, Syria. He grew up in Beirut, Lebanon. In my family, we spoke Arabic. My father, since I was a little girl, he taught me everything I know. He taught me how to read, what to do. When he was 13, he used to walk around in Beirut, in the Jewish neighborhood, with a gun. And Israel didn't exist yet. He was born in 1927. So when I'm talking 1942, he walked and he was able across from Lebanon to then the British mandate. He was caught, he joined the Onotrim, which is the Jewish police, and then he was chosen as one of 5,000 people to be in the Jewish brigade of the British Army. So my father went, he was trained in the pyramid in Egypt, and then they took him to fight the Nazis. You know, they never believed the Jews can fight. It's not funny. You know, we are the best army there is. You know, so they chose 5,000 after a very long negotiation. He went to fight the Nazis, the end of the war in Belgium and Holland, and then he went to help the Jewish refugee in Italy. And he said what he saw they did to us, the death and the destruction. They were all bones, they lost all their families, and the British were blocking the Jews coming into Israel because we don't want to offend the Arabs. And my father said, okay, I'm going back. And he joined the underground of Menachem Begin, the Irgun, the Etzel, in 1946. And he said, you know what? You taught me, you the British, how to handle explosives. I blew up the Nazis, British, all over. Now it's your turn. And he went after the British. He put explosives everywhere. He went after the army, he went after them, and they continue being against us. He was one of the few people, the first people that really conquered Jaffa. And it's an amazing thing. This is also how he met my mother. He met my mother after the partition plan announcement. You know, everybody was in the street. And then he all the time had to run away from the British. They wanted to catch the Irgun people, you know. So he went, and they ran after him, the British, and he was in panic. So he caught the first woman there is, my mother, and he started hugging and kissing her. And she said, please be quiet, the British are after me, I'm in the Irgun. And she kept letting him, he was very handsome. And then they married 3 months after. And she said that during, she was in the area between Jaffa and Tel Aviv, where the market is there. And she said that during the wedding, there were snipers, Arabs everywhere. And then they started the war, my father joined the army. And he told me everything. He told me, there's no chance for any peace. And I know, because I grew up with them. They simply hate us. They hate everybody that is not like them. It's a religious war. This is not a real estate dispute. You don't need real estate lawyers. There will never be peace. It's only through power. We have to be strong. We have to be powerful. We have to be determined. And I want to tell you, and now we have a president that has our back. And I want to say another thing, the hypocrisy of the world. You know, now they are complaining and whining. Do you know that on Thursday, in the United Nations General Assembly, there was a vote, 151-6 against Israel, saying that they are condemning, condemning any action by the occupier. They call us the occupier power, they call us the occupying power in Jerusalem, everywhere in Jerusalem. On Thursday, 151-6, we are the occupying power, and they said we are trying to impose our law administration over the holy city of Jerusalem. And any action we will be involved is illegal, it's void, and it's null. And then they dare to say that we should try to maintain the status quo for the holy site, especially Sham el-Sharif. Not even mentioning the Temple Mount. I mean, you are disavowing our ties to the city? And you dare to say one word to us now? You don't believe we have rights, historical rights to any part of Jerusalem? It used to be our capital for 1,000 years and another 70 years. And we are open and we have access to everybody. Every religion can come there. And you're telling me, and who were the countries that voted against, of course, Israel, United States, of course, We are not Obama time. He doesn't vote against us. He doesn't not veto a resolution against us. So we had the United States, we had Israel, of course, we had Canada, and then we had, I didn't even know they exist, Micronesia. Well, I didn't know there was a country like that. No, where is that place? And the Marshall Islands. This is it! Everybody else, 9 abstain, and the rest were against us. All the Europeans, they're being slaughtered, overwhelmed by the Muslim in Europe. Soon in 2050, it will be the Islamic State of Europe, and they are all voting against us. We have no right to Jerusalem, and you dare now to condemn Trump? That it will destroy the peace? It will destroy the status quo? What status quo? You don't recognize Jewish ties to the land? You know, I wanted to tell you, there were 5 other anti-Israel resolutions. You know which one? The next one was proposed by Bashar Assad. You know, the great human rights guy, you know, the guy that cares about human rights, this guy, this leader, he proposed that we condemn the presence of Israelis in the Golan Heights. And you know that this guy that used chemical weapon against his own people and caused the displacement of 11 million Syrians that then flooded Europe and brought jihadists there. You know what was the vote there? 105 for it, and 6 against it. And again, no European were there. United States, of course, and Israel. I mean, they choose a murderer that murdered his own people, that is the bodies of the Iranian, over us, the European. I thought you were fighting against him. I thought you were fighting against ISIS that he created. This is called hate, pure hate. That will never change. But you know what? Who cares? We have the best one, United States of America. So I want to tell you, it was a glorious day, it was an amazing day, it was a historical day, it was monumental days. And you know what? Every time we think we are down, we are not out. All the time, God give us a miracle and somebody is for us. I want to tell you, when I was little, you know, I all the time was wondering why everybody hates us as a little girl in Israel. It was a strange feeling. It's a feeling of why the United Nations all the time is against us. We are talking about 50 years ago, and it's still the same. Why the European hate us? Why the Asian hate us? Why the African hate us? It doesn't make sense that none of them voted for us on Thursday. With us. None. All major candidates, no South America, no Central America, no Africa, no Asia, no Europe. Think about it. So as a little girl, I felt this sense of isolation and loneliness. And I want to tell you that there were 2 things that kept me hopeful about, optimistic about the future. One was each one of you, the Jewish people in America. You will not believe how much you help a little girl like me. I want to tell you the feeling of not being alone. It was very important. And the second one, this Uncle Sam. My mother all the time said, oh, we have this uncle in America, and he loves us, so don't worry. I said, well, what is his name? Uncle Sam. And I believe it. There is this Uncle Sam, very rich and powerful, and he protects us against all the bullies in the world. Don't worry. It's quite amazing. And then I discovered that Uncle Sam is the United States of America. So I want to tell you that, you know, God all can save us from ourselves and from others. And I want to say that there is in the book of Psalm, you know, when the Jews were in Babylonian, when they were expelled, you know, the Jews in Babylonian, they cry why they are not in Jerusalem. So there was really a chapter in the book of Psalm talking about it, what they're feeling. So it says, "Meshkachech Yerushalayim tishkach yemini." If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget its cunning. תדבק לשוני לחיקי אם לא אזכרכי. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. אם לא אלוהי את ירושלים על ראש שמחתי. If I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy. I want to tell you, that's what we feel. This is the strength of our feeling. Was a great day. Hopefully, you will not go and defeat the Iranian and the Syrian and Russia and Hezbollah and Hamas. We're quite a lot of them. And don't worry, and we are stronger now. We can fight for ourselves, and we are fighting. We are defeating the Syrian, we defeated the Iranian, we bombed them 100 times, and we are winning. So I want to tell you, thank you so much, and I appreciate everything. Yeah, please, I'm ready for questions, guys.
Hello?
My name is Eva Sands. This is Bruce. Okay. Now, I wanted to ask you if you are hopeful now that Saudi Arabia has started some economic relations with Israel, and of course Jordan has always had some. Do you feel at all hopeful that maybe through economic relations we will also have some diplomatic relations?
Well, I will tell you the truth is I am hopeful, but for what I don't know yet. Because, you know, it's a good indication, but the reason why Jordan and why Saudi Arabia and why the Persian Gulf states are with us, because they are afraid from the big devil, it's called Iran. They want us really to fight against Hezbollah and Iran. Because I tell you the truth, the United States in recent months made several mistakes. I hope it's the last mistake they've made, because they decided in the speech, there was an amazing speech by Mr. Trump, President against Iran and the nuclear deal, but he did not designate the Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization. A lot of people do it. He did not decide after the speech, he didn't do anything on the ground. He let the Iranians spread. They are now in Iraq, using the weapon and money we gave to the Iraqis. They are now in Syria, spreading. They intend to use a land route all the way from Iran, all the way to Syria, and through Iraq, all the way to Beirut, because they want to have a port and bases. So the thing is, I think that the only way, it's a good news, if Saudi Arabia and all the, United Emirates and Qatar, Qatar is a lost cause, Kuwait, all those people, if they decide that their national interest is more important than the national interest of the Palestinians, if they decide that the Palestinians will never have peace, just 2 days ago, they said that Mr. Kushner say in the Saban Forum, he said, first there has to be a peace with the Palestinians for Israel, and then alliance with the Saudis. It will never work, because there will never be peace. In meantime, the Iranians are knocking on the doors of all those countries. So if they make a brave decision saying, I want to survive in the Middle East, and I had enough with the rejections attitude of the Palestinians, then we have a chance to have a deal. I mean, I can stay for as long as you want.
Oh, I know you could.
Yes.
Well, let's get out the bed and we sleep it. See you.
Farrell Cooperson. A long time ago, there was Entebbe. And the lesson of Entebbe that Israel taught the world was don't screw around with Israel. The three offers that were made that you described, each one being worse, taught the Arabs a lesson. What's wrong? What's happened to Israeli leadership?
Well, the thing is that we have Bibi Netanyahu, and I think it's the best thing ever happened to us. The best thing. I want to tell you that Bibi Netanyahu, he knows what is to lose a brother in Entebbe, but he also was in the top combat unit, the Matkal. He knows how to fight terrorists. And you think a guy like that was murdered by that his brother was murdered by PLO terrorists will ever really give them a state to do more terror to us? Never. But what worries me is the left in Israel is trying to undermine and to destroy Bibi Netanyahu. Because for them, a deal with the Arabs is more important than survival of Israel.
My name is Clement Sofer. I'm from the Middle East also. I heard you what you said, and I truly believe in my heart that the only way is we have to go, being that it is a religious war. It has always been a religious war. Everybody has covered it up and fooled around and went all over the place. In the religious war, last week, the chief mufti of Mecca and Medina said specifically on their TV that in Surah 5.23 says specifically that Moses took the Jews from Egypt, brought them to Israel under the command of God. The same story was repeated in Kuwait by a journalist. There is one more thing that is needed. We need Al-Azhar in Egypt that the chief mufti over there says he's supporting the mufti of Saudi Arabia, and then now you have the entire Muslim. It is no longer anymore an economic or because of Iran or because of whatever. It is what it tells them on Friday in their mosque that the Jews have the right to Israel through their own religion.
I agree with you, because all the problem is brainwashing. All the terrorism is brainwashing. They brainwash them, you know, in those countries for so many years, for, you know, for martyrdom, for jihad, for, you know, you kill a Jew and you get 72 virgin brides in heaven. I don't know why somebody wants it, but, you know, also something wrong, you know. So it's like the brainwashing it's the essence that now they have a problem. Because all those countries need us. But the brainwashing went so long with hatred to the Jews, blaming us with everything horrible that happened, that it will take time to train a new generation. But they are trying now. Saudi Arabia is a new, the crown prince is 32 years old, and he seemed determined to know for the survival of Saudi Arabia. I also want to say another amazing thing. Just now, on November 4th, from Yemen, they fired a missile to Riyadh by the Houthis, the rebels, in Yemen. You see, they are starting, and it's amazing. They have so many weapons, and they are such really very weak army, the Saudis. So they need Israel, but Israel will not sacrifice themselves for no one. We only sacrifice ourselves for us.
It's a 7th century. It's a 7th century people that are using 21st century weapons, unfortunately.
But and still, they are so bad. You know, thank God. Yes. Yes.
I heard on the news today, of course, it's wonderful that Donald Trump has announced the hopes that blocks the capital to be moved from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. But then I heard on the news that the president this morning signed a waiver, as the other previous presidents have done. They all have said Jerusalem should or could be the capital, but they all signed waivers, and Trump also did.
Because according to the law, the 1995 law, the congressional law, was that you have to sign a waiver every 6 months unless you decide to move the embassy. But they are trying now to find a place, and he was talking about the architect and the engineers. The thing is, he recognized, I do believe, not only he recognized, he also directed the State Department. He's trying to, I believe, by the next 6 months, you will not sign it again. I want to tell you, it was reported a week ago that on Monday, they were ready the Tillotson and the McMaster, they're already ready. It will be half an hour in the White House. He will sign the waiver and they move on. And President Trump came to them and said, no, we are discussing different plans. Give me options. What I can do. I want to keep my promise. I want to recognize the capital and I want to move the embassy. Give me options. I believe this will be the last one. Also, I want to tell you, this is an amazing leverage. This is really, if you think about leverage of negotiation, they gave them so much money till now. He gave them, oh, it's an honor to meet you 3 times at a bus. This is the first time after using the carrot for so long, he's using the stick on them. If you wait too long, there will be embassy. If you wait too long, you got nothing. Your days are dwindling.
There's one other big factor involved here too. You have to recognize that from now on, the Israeli passports will say Jerusalem, Israel, which is a big thing for us that a lot of people don't realize right now.
And also remember that the case had all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, in which an Israeli, a child that was born in Jerusalem, in the passport it only said Jerusalem, it didn't say Jerusalem, Israel. And the U.S. Supreme Court agreed that it's only the president decide national security decision. And the point is now, if you recognize the capital of Jerusalem in Israel, now the passport will be Jerusalem, Israel. So we already got something. I think that if we be a little more patient, but I want to say another thing. Do you know there is an easy way out for them? You know that there is a consulate, an American consulate in Jerusalem, in Western Jerusalem, that serve the Palestinians? It means if you reside or a citizen in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Jerusalem, you go to the consulate in Jerusalem. They have already an embassy in Jerusalem. That's what all the geniuses president of the past did. It was a double standard. Also, there are other 8 Western embassies, also only consulates serving the Palestinian. It means this is a double standard. They're talking about containing or remaining the remaining status quo, while they gave more rights to a country that is not even a country. So the point is, there is a way to make it shorter. Change the sign. Change it. Israel embassy. We don't care how many people will fit in. Please, and you know us, we Jews, we will help them build it, as fast as we can.